All right. So, welcome to Cozywombmama podcast. I have a special guest today. We are on stereo, and I want to welcome More Than a Dad podcast. We have Lou, we have Dre. I'm gonna go a rundown. I'm gonna do a rundown for their podcast, and then I'm gonna let them add in what I'm missing. Um, so the way I found you guys was probably like through my search. Every once and again, even as like a podcaster, I might go in like a podcast app and put in like dad podcast or new podcast, and I'll scroll through and I'll see who put out a recent podcast this year, because a lot of dad podcasts, they started and then they don't do a new episode since 2019, or they don't do an episode since 2020, but they have like a good name for their podcast, but it's just sitting there. And then I saw y'all and I was like, okay. And then I was like, I wonder if they had an Instagram, and then y'all had an Instagram, and I was like, oh snap. I said they from Philly too. I was like, let me check in. So what I know about y'all so far is y'all from Philly. Y'all both have kids of your own. The purpose of your podcast is for dads um to have like their own platform to share or talk about their experience as parents. Y'all topics are pretty good. Y'all usually have guests on when y'all have episodes. And y'all started the podcast in 2021. I think y'all about 39 episodes in. And on Good Pods, y'all are ranked number 84 in Kids and Family Podcasts. And y'all give good father tips. That was just somebody trying to come in. Lou got the star. Um, and then what else? Um, a lot of people say like, oh, that's just the dad, or the dad is over there, as if like dads are a non-factor. So when I saw the title, I was like, I get it, because a lot of people think when it comes to like fathers, you just help make the baby, and then maybe you're the like, go-to for like the money, but they don't really give fathers like the credit like they would give a mom, of like a mom doing for a child, caring for a child, involved in a child's day-to-day. They just think like the dad is just like that person over there that legally he needs to do X, Y, and Z, but he has no other like responsibilities to it. And that's not true. So I appreciate the fact that y'all take time out to talk to people who got like current um dealings with their kids, or maybe their past was worse than what it is now, and they talk through it on the episode, and it's just super relatable. And so for me, my favorite episode so far that y'all did was Borrowed Time. The father of seven, that was crazy. I couldn't imagine having seven kids. And how did you become a single dad twice? So
Okay.
that's all I got. Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything about y'all podcast so far?
Go ahead, Dre.
You always shifted to me. I think I feel like you hit the nail on the head. But yeah, we was just looking at just like you were saying, representation for dads. Like
Yeah.
it's a bad stereotype, like around dads, and especially like me, like like I was, like a single dad for like a little while, and then like like transitioning into like being a stepdad, but like even going into like being a single dad, it's just that stereotype of like if you're not like with the mother of your kids, then like you necessarily like less as a dad automatically. So like it was kind of like that, and just like giving us representation as dads.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dre and I, when we started this show, it was kind of like me and him have like totally different like parenting experiences, right? Like I'm married with kids, and I came a father through being a stepdad first, and like Jay was a young dad, a teen dad, and like we had a nice contrast to begin with, and we were friends, and these were conversations that we were just having among as friends, and we
Right.
both are creative, so it was like it was more than hey, we just had good conversations, let's make a podcast. It was like no, he produced one of my shows before. Dre used to do music. I had another podcast before about sports. And it was like, as creators, let's see if we can make this compelling and like relatable. And I think another thing was like everybody's all about money and generational wealth and getting to the
Yeah.
bag. And it's like, I think a big element of more than a dad is like how are you juggling, career, entrepreneur, and fatherhood, family, husband. I think that's a big part of what we represent. Because what we hear kind of is like nobody's really self caring. Like nobody has no real self care measures, but everybody's like getting it done and like making ends meet and stuff like that. So I think we're building a community that like supports parents, in particular dads, and you know that's kind of like our mission.
Mm, yeah. I wish there was more support for men, period, and then dads on top of that, but there really isn't. And if there is, you have to like really dig for it and see if like a company or a nonprofit is really pushing it, or are these people still doing this or X, Y, and Z? And I feel like there has to be like a group of fathers that keep pushing it consistently no matter what, no matter if they don't have the amount of support women have. And until like this system or our government starts seeing like a dad and a mom as an equal instead of
Right.
like, oh, the kid's best interest be with, because the reality is there's some women that do give birth to children and the best interest of that child is not with the mom.
Mm.
And so I think the more that dads talk about it, whether it's through casting or whatever, you know, medium method that they want to talk to the public about experience, the more society would be like, okay, so there is another level of being a father. There is more to it. Or there are more fathers out here that want to do more, that want to be a part of more. And it's not just like this one sided idea of what fatherhood is. So I like the fact that your podcast really like pushes it and gives like a different perspective of it. So when y'all started podcasting, what are some podcasts y'all listened to at the beginning?
Well,
I mean, I listened. Well, I think we both listened to the Joe Budden podcast. That was like a big thing. We actually seen Joe Budden live show. Most of the other podcasts I listen to is probably like mostly like sports based, like a few entertainment, maybe like a All the Smoke or Knuckleheads or the Pivot. But I've been listening to a lot lately. Um, yeah, like sports and like entertainment mostly.
What about you, Boo?
I listen to a little bit of everything. I love Earn Your Leisure. I listen to obviously Joe Button and Drink Champs and some of the
Yeah,
same sports stuff that he listened to. But I've actually started listening to a show called "And Then I Had Sex," and then we had sex. I think. Yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah,
I like what they're doing. Yeah, it's to be honest, I find it hard to like create my own stuff and stay original and be like consuming a lot of podcasts. But I actually like podcasts, so it's hard. I'm in a battle, right? Like it's like I don't want to feel like this thought wasn't original or like this topic isn't original, but
yeah,
I enjoy it. What I'm seeing though is like a lot of like parenting stuff is like seeping through in people interviews. Like you get a rapper on here and it's all about music and sales, and then it's like let's talk about the dad you are. And it's like, well, that's like our whole show right there. Is like what type of dad you are, right? So
right.
it's coming out in different ways.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of podcasts too, and to have multiple podcasts, try to keep it like authentic to me. and then to the audience is you have to listen with a different ear. So if I listen to a podcast, I'm not listening for a show topic. I'm listening to like how they had it structured. Like did they do music and then like a clip of the episode at the front and then like a intro, and how did they do the intro? And where did they add like this segment? And is that something I would want to incorporate on my show where I add a segment at this time and then do this show here? And that's why, like, for me, every season I change like the cover because I want people to know, like, you're going to get a different perspective this season, or I'm on a different focus this season. Because I feel like at the beginning, when you're a new podcast, that's where you're going to see like your best numbers, right? Because everybody's trying to figure out like what makes you different or why should I keep listening, right? And then once you stop that whole momentum of getting everything out that people don't know nothing about, you're gonna have to think of, okay, like what haven't I talking about? What haven't I said? What type of guests haven't I had on here? What is a focus that people don't really focus on in parenting? And that's what you just have to research. Like I like to watch a lot of documentaries. I like to read a lot of different books, but I also like to see like what was my childhood like, and as a kid, what did I have a question about for an adult that I couldn't ask that I can say now. And so that's what keeps like your podcast fresh is nobody can take away like Lou's experience from Lou. Nobody can take away Dre's experience from Dre. Um, and I feel like a lot of dads have more to say but not necessarily the place to say it. And so I think a lot more dads have a bigger space to push more out in this podcast thing versus women because you already know women run their mouth about everything. Like I done ran my mouth. I'm on my 17th season of Cozy Womb. Like what haven't I told y'all about parenting? You know, and it's a challenge every season to come with something I haven't said or something I haven't talked about. But at the same time, I've never experienced my kids at age 9 yet. I haven't experienced my kids as teenagers yet. So I know like there's more content coming because I'm really in this mom shit.
Right.
No, that's a fact. We even talk about that like kind of like on the pod or like we like allude to it a little bit. Like a lot of things, like that I speak about on the pod is just because like my kids are older than Lou's kid. Like I have a teenage kid,
Yeah.
so our experience is different. So like I think it's a never ending you know, thing when it comes to content, just because, just like you said, they're forever going to change. They're forever going to grow. What you go through is
Right.
going to be different. What you go through is going to change. Like, it might change, rapidly. It could change from week to week, month to month, like, depending on, what stage your children are
I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah.
I think another thing that saves us now is like I feel like when I'm scrolling Instagram or Facebook or something, and I see topics or videos, I use it as content to bring in the show and ask Dre his opinion on it or our guest opinion on it. I think that saves us a lot. Is like there are things happening even outside of the household that's like basically like a parenting topic. Like, and I don't look at it as like we're like a current event show, right? So like we're not like super current event based, but like it was a time when they were talking about like should a boy be playing with a kitchen set or like recently, we did the episode about we made comments on how we felt about that dad who didn't drop off like McDonald's for the mom's other kids instead of his just
Yeah.
his kid. Like we find a way because there's always stuff going on. It's always viral videos. It's always. I just seen something yesterday about I think it's a Middle Eastern man was talking about his view about being a dad. Like dads shouldn't be second moms. We're not the second nurturers. We are the teachers and we provide lessons. And I was like, I don't even know if I agree with that. It would depend on what kind of mom I was, parenting with. You know,
Right.
like that but that was like a hot take. Like he just he had this 1 minute video, he just is going off about like dads are supposed to teach lessons and you're supposed to learn toughness and mental, your mindset comes from dad and stuff like that. And I'm just like,
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
yeah, but like if mom is always at work or mom isn't but so nurturing, like dad might have to step in and be that. Like I just think being a parent is like extremely flexible, and people have hot takes about parenting all over the place. So it's always going to be content.
Right. And even with that, that's a perfect example of like sometimes internet can be problematic because
Right.
he's saying what a father should be doing from a culture aspect because his culture is different. A lot of dads in other countries, women in some countries just got the right to drive a car.
Mm.
So clearly there's a lot of things women cannot do like American women versus what men can do and women can do. So a lot of other cultures in different countries are coming from an aspect of the woman does X, Y, and Z in the household because those are her options and that's how she was raised to be a wife. Here is kind of like in America, you could be a wife, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a business owner, you could be a baker, you could be a seamstress, you could be this, and you could have kids, and you could have a husband. So I take a lot of other people's perspectives of what a man is or what a dad is or what a mother is with a grain of salt because if I'm a single mom in America, what a mother does in India while she has a husband and with the limit she has does not apply. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And my thing when men try to say a man is not supposed to be do this and a man is not supposed to do that and a woman's supposed to do this and this is what a man's role is with the kid. In America that does not apply. Not anymore because now we live in a time frame where it's modern and both parents work and both parents coming in the house at 7:30 p.m. and the kids have to be self-efficient and the kids have to know how to put waffles in the toaster or make oodles and noodles or use a microwave. And so it's not that, oh, you're a woman when you come home from work, now you got to clock into your mom job and I'm going to sit and watch TV because my dad job is over. It's not that. It's a team effort. You
No,
know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. You listen to the episodes. Like I cook and I clean. I do stuff with the kids. I do activities. I'm hands on like that. I feel. I was just telling Jay on the episode recently. I ain't never felt this exhausted. Like work all day. you know, get with the kids. Like I don't get like my wife does a good job on not letting me like chill. Like I don't even know if it's intentional, but she'll be like, if she up on her feet moving around, I think she expect me to be like doing something, right? Like that's just like what it feels like. I don't know if that's like a real thing or not, but yeah, like if she's cooking, then I'm getting them ready for getting them broken down in their pajamas, or
Yeah.
going over Manny's homework or little activities he got from daycare or whatever. So it's like it's always something. Like she was cooking the other day, I had them both. I was pushing my daughter with one hand and trying to make sure Manny ain't fall off his. He got a little bike with training wheels. Make sure he ain't fall off his bike with the other hand. Like it's like she don't expect me to be in here playing the PlayStation. You know.
Right. Right. So yeah, it's a different time now. I do like the fact that more dads are involved now than they were like when my dad was dadding. Because all my dad did was like work, dress nice, smell good, have options, and come home and eat. And the next day he did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have like memories of my dad taking me to a doctor's appointment, or taking me to the dentist, or taking me to a park to play. Like he wasn't that. He was like, "Oh, your mom could do that. Your mom can help you with your homework. Your mom could go on the field trip." But again, I don't blame him because we have to think about, well, how was he raised as a kid?
Right.
We're
Yeah,
You
getting
you
know,
definitely. What you
go
about to
ahead.
say? Go ahead, Lou.
And I was saying,
Oh,
like, we're getting so far, like, in life, we're getting so far from like stay at home mom culture, like like especially
yeah,
in America, like if you don't have like a certain amount of wealth, like we're so far from this, like women just take care of the house and the kids, and you can just be at work absent basically, and you might come home and fix stuff and expect a hot plate of food and to get all this physical affection from your wife after that because you taking care of her. Like my wife is real big on letting me know, like, I go to work like you go to work. Like even if I don't make the same amount of money as you, it's still like I have to allocate that 8 hours and that energy like you do. So like,
right,
can you do the laundry today? Can you make sure you pull out a frozen food to get cooked for dinner? That you know what I mean? It's not like it's not hands off. Like it's like we're in the time of, like you said, two parents are working. And if you really tapped in with your parent, then like you gonna be hands on. Like there's no way. It's kind of like really no way around it. It'll just be stuff not getting done. The house won't be clean. Laundry won't be
right,
done. Like we'll be eating out every day, or it'll be a different. It'll be different.
yeah, uh,
and it's just like you kind of touched on, like your dad only did what he knew. We just
right,
exposed to like different things, so we see things in a different way. So we kind of just move in a different way. We like the information generation. So everybody's a little bit more conscious about the things that's going on, and like a little bit more understanding about what it actually means to like be present, like in your kid's life, and not just like be present. Like you could be around, and you could be you can be around and not really be around. Like it's just a difference. Like we just understand it in a different way. So I think we just look at it different.
okay. It definitely is different. Would you guys, if you could, would you guys ever be like a stay-at-home dad?
No.
No, no. I don't think I could be, like, cause to be honest, like in my priorities, like as much as I would love to create and freelance, higher
Yeah,
up on the priority list is like providing and like having a amazing career and like leaving stuff for the kids, and like I don't think that's gonna come with me just being in the house and stuff like that. I just don't think it fit my personality. I don't fault the next person for that. Like if you married
right.
Oprah, like I'm gonna be at the crib. all the
Right,
other boxes, all the other boxes is checked, bro. Like you know what I mean?
right.
Like just attach my name on that. Like you know what I mean? That stuff is signed, sealed, and delivered. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So how was y'all household from when you were a baby to like age 10? Like what did that look like?
Go ahead, Dre.
I mean, I grew up in a two-parent household. My
Yeah.
dad and my mom. Um, up until that point, like I kind of just up until that point, like it was like it was just my mom and my dad for real. They I was about to, yeah, because like my siblings was, I mean, my brother might have still been in the house at the time, until I
Right.
was 10 before he left. But like I'm like far apart from like all of my siblings, so it's kind of like being an only child, but
Yeah.
But my household was interesting. My dad was
it's not.
older. Go ahead,
Oh,
Dre.
yeah,
Yeah.
went out and came back. Yeah, like I got like 10 siblings, so but I still kind of grew up like an only child.
Okay.
That sound crazy though, to have 10 and feel like the only child. Like how is that even possible?
because you'd be so much younger. I took like I'm 30 years apart from my oldest brother.
Wow.
I think I'm kind of like the same way with my dad's um older children. Like
Yeah.
I have a sister that's close to my mom's age, and a brother that's not too far from my mom's age, also. And I don't relate to them like siblings. It's kind of like, oh hey, I'll talk to you every once in a while, but like, what are we gonna talk about? Like,
It's too
so
big of an age gap. Like I didn't really connect with like my older siblings until I was an adult because when you like 20, like you don't want to hang out with like your 2-year-old little brother. Like it makes sense. But as I became an adult, like like we kind of built them relationships.
right. What about you, Lou?
My upbringing, Dre had like I have an older dad. Like my dad had me at 63 years old. Um, I had an older dad and he was retired, so like I got like the best from my dad. Like even though he was older, but he wasn't like pulled away from me for work or other things. It was like I was his first biological kid, and when he had me, he just retired, and he just was like we spent like every day together until I went to like kindergarten. And he even like volunteered for like field trips through elementary school and middle school, and we did like everything together. So I had like this vision of like, my dad like my favorite person. Like I want to be
Yeah.
just like my dad. You know what I mean? So I don't have a dad that like didn't do things. Like my dad would bake a cake and then climb on the roof and fix a leak on the roof. Like my dad had like this real wide
Mm.
range. Like, my dad would like chauffeur my mom back and forth from work. He wouldn't let her drive or catch the bus. He would take her and drop her off lunch and then come pick her up. He was like I don't even know what type of human he was. Like I ain't even trying to do
Is he
all that.
is
But like,
he American?
yeah, he's American.
What?
He's,
That's
he's a,
like, to me. I feel like that type of character is more so like a Caribbean or a different mannerism, because a lot of those men is either they really like pamper and take care of their wife, or it's kind of like they objectify a woman.
okay.
Like there's no in between. But that's rare that an American man would do that. That's
Yeah,
good. My,
he's from the South, and he was born in 1926. You see it a lot, and I think both our dads are ex-military too. So like you got a lot of like
uh,
structure and like you got a lot of structure and like things that you don't even realize about yourself, like being like stand up and having morals and like a code to you. Like you get
yeah.
that from that military background.
See, my dad, when he made me, he was 60. You know what I'm saying? And then my parents are 30 years apart. So by the time I was like up and ready to be active, but he also Jamaican, and Jamaican men are like, no, I'm gonna work, and your mom gonna do all like the house stuff and the homework stuff. So he wasn't really involved like your dad was, but yeah, he was born in 1923. So he was like an old man, and retiring was not a thing for him. He stopped working until health wise he couldn't work,
Mm,
you know. And a lot of fathers feel like, I work and I provide. I'm a great dad, and it's not that. It's like you work, you provide, you nurture, you teach, you bond with kids. Like that's fatherhood. It's not money. Money is not fatherhood. And so he didn't understand that. But yeah. Well, that's good that y'all saw like different perspectives of fatherhood. So, seeing your fathers in your life as a kid, how did that help you as an adult with your own children?
No, I mean, I feel like it gave me a baseline, like it gave me a template to kind of like I guess a starting point. Like it gave me an idea of like what it should look like, like to be a good dad, to be active and present. Like my dad was older, just like y'all dad. So like he wasn't like super like we wasn't about to go out in the backyard and like play basketball or do nothing like that. Because he just wasn't moving that well. He was moving good enough, but so like I was able to take like the things that he did do that I did see him do, and then like put my spin on it and be a little bit more hands on with it because I was young. I was 19 when I had my first kid, so like I'm still active. We still active today. If he want to go outside and race, we gonna go outside and race.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, but like I was just able, like it just gave me, a template. Like I seen him, take care of my mom, take care of house, things he did for me, and then I was able to like expound on it.
Mm.
I mean, in the same light, like what I really took from my dad is like it's not a lot of like I'm not doing this because I'm a man or because I'm dad. Like
Yeah.
like whatever kind of like needed to be done. Like that's kind of how I view daddy. Like sewage back up in the basement, we down there trying to unclog it. Like something break, he trying to fix it. Mommy say she tired, well he gonna cook today. You know what I mean? Or he gonna take us out to eat, or like it wasn't a whole bunch because I feel like a lot of guys are like egotistic, cool, and like very macho, and like I said all the time on the show, like I don't know a lot of guys that cook and clean and stuff like that. So like I don't know. I just feel like when you're a dad, like one thing I took from my dad is like whatever need to be done, then you got to handle it. Like you like the cleanup, like. If it's 10 things to be done and mom says she gonna only do two, then it sounds like you about to pull eight. Like that's what it sounds like. So that's my
Yeah.
experience.
I never see that clean, and I never see my grandfather clean on my mom's side. It's just like it's a woman's job, you know. I've seen him sweep his barbershop in Philly, but I've never seen him like do house stuff. So for me, growing up is kind of like, and I have like my brothers are older than me, and I'm just like, uh, do y'all clean? Like, and my mom wasn't strict, so it was more so like I don't like living with a man. I've never had to live with anybody I was in a relationship with. I was never like eager because I've been in a house with my brothers that I know how they are, and then I saw like how how my brothers my father was with my mom there, and my mom would do everything, and I'm just like, no, I'm good, I'm straight, I'm gonna go home. I like that you have your space, that I got mine. So now it's kind of like I'm at an age where most women like, oh my god, I need to find a man and I need to find a husband and we need to have one house. I'm just like, ooh, I mean, do you have to stay here?
That's
So
hilarious.
it's really good that y'all got to see like different levels of like what a father would do in the house. For you, it's kind of like the when you see like the young men today and how they interact with their kids, can you automatically tell like if they grew up with their dad or not?
No.
Mm, no, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Listen,
So
no.
like, okay, so how like men today might treat their kids or how they think they might be involved without question in your head, do you like, damn, like why wouldn't you want to do more? Like why wouldn't you want to do X, Y, and Z with your kid? Like, does it ever make you feel like, why don't you feel like that closeness or want to with your kid? Because a lot of times for me, because I'm not in guy on guy conversation because I'm not a man, but I don't understand how a group of men can be friends or hang out a lot, and then you have some that, all right, y'all, I gotta go pick up, my daughter from school. I gotta go pick up my son from school, or I gotta go drop him off at football practice. And then you got in the same group a man who has multiple kids, but don't never talk about them. Don't never go pick them up. Don't call them. Like, why do you feel like most males today feel like it's cool to not ask or initiate the conversation of why you not do that?
Mm. Go ahead, Lou.
All right, so I don't know. Just going right back to the thing when you said, can we tell if can we tell if a dad had a dad in his life based upon the father he is today? The answer is flat out no, and it's
Mm,
because like you want to be better than what you had. So like if you had a good dad, you're gonna be a super good dad. If you didn't have
right.
dad, you're gonna be a better dad. So like looking at somebody is just no way to tell. Like we have a lot of like guys, quote unquote street guys on our show, and all their upbringings are like different, and you'll never be able to tell like, oh yeah, he had a good dad or bad dad. It's just like I just see the dad that's in front of me and that's him, right? Going to your question about the friend group, I think men probably should challenge each other a little bit more, but like you be different guys. Like we
Yeah,
Dre say it all the time about responsibility. Like some people take accountability and responsibility really seriously, and there's some people who don't. People like want to skate and get over, and like I say it all the time. Like when a baby's born, like a dad got time to think, like turn into a dad. Like a mom got to be a mom through the pregnancy, when the baby get
right.
here. That's probably why you know women get postpartum and like men die later from being stressed. Like they carry more stress trying to do bigger things. But the initial shock is on women. Like men have to like figure it out. Oh snap! I really got a kid, or I got all this time to be a better dad. I got all this time to turn it around. I got all this time to turn my to take the street stuff away and give myself to the Lord or something. Like you think you have all this
Yeah,
time, like and it's not always that way. But some guys like still be doing them. Like they really like still be like doing really quote unquote nothing because like as an adult you can't just be hanging out and like you got things to do. You need to be making money or taking care of your kids. But like some guys like wanna just play a let out or I guess be chilling. You know what I mean? Like and it's they skipping over responsibility. You know what I mean? Like they pushing the responsibility on the woman, solely. But like in our friend group, we challenge each other with them same topics. I remember talking
yeah,
to one of my buddies about like he had two daughters, now he just had a third recently. And I was like, bro, you can't be too macho to do tea party with your daughters. All you got is daughters. You don't have sons. We
right.
can't do football practice. She not gonna grow up playing football. So you're gonna have to go do tea party. Well, I ain't doing that. Like I don't see nobody else doing that. Like now you worrying about what you see. You know what I mean? Now the dad that you should be is conflicting with what you seen or not. Like what you think is cool to do or not. Like I don't know. In our friend group, I'm like, man, you kind of dead wrong for that. So they my goddaughter. So when they come over, I play on the floor with them. I'm wrestling with them. They want to play with doll babies. I'm there because it's like who cares what you look like? Like they your
Right.
kids. Like if you can't do that with them, who's supposed to do that?
And one thing I always tell people to think about when you have sons, um, and they grow up to be men, a lot of people don't think about like this is possibly this man's first time holding a baby.
Mm.
Because when you're a kid, nobody's being like, oh, you know, come hold your cousin when you 7. When you a teenager, it's not like that teenager boy is gonna be like, oh, there's a new baby, let me hold him. Let me hold her. Unless it's like a close sibling. And then most people don't want their boys playing with dolls, holding dolls. They don't want them having what you talked about, the kitchen set. They don't want them pushing a stroller. And, I had brothers, and so I I would play with his GI Joes. I would put my dolls on his train set. But it's kind of like looked at and shamed, like, what you doing holding that Barbie? Put that Barbie down. Or, you know, why you trying to play with your sister and change that diaper? You don't do that. You a boy. And then you get a grown man that is a new father. He don't know how to change a diaper. He don't know how to hold a baby. He don't know how to nurture a baby. And then women kind of like chastise men, like, you don't know how to do nothing. You ain't no help. You might as well not do anything. Blah 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 blah. But women don't take into the consideration, like, when was he in a space to feel comfortable to do this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
When
very
when
true.
when was it okay for him to uh you know know what to do after a child falls and scrapes their knee and is bleeding, or how to comfort them, you know? And a lot of dads lack compassion because they were never in a position to have it. Like, I have a brother, my youngest brother, he has 4 daughters. And I remember growing up with him, and whether it was my nephews that hurt themselves, when they fell and they hurt themselves, he would just stand there and just, he don't know what to do. Like, he fell. And I'm just like, pick him up. Like, wipe his thing off and just like rock him a little bit for him to like calm down, and then just put a band-aid on it and let him go. And to me, it's kind of like men are not like light switches. You can't be like, okay, the light is on, be a teenage boy, the light is on, be a man, the light is on, be a father. You can't do that, and it's not fair for them. For a woman, like you said, a woman becomes a mother as soon as she finds out that she's pregnant. She got to eat different, she got to drink certain things, she got to make sure do certain things to harm a baby. Then she got to go through childbirth. Most men ain't never seen a woman go through childbirth. And so that's uncomfortable for them. And then a lot of doctors and nurses make a man in a delivery room feel like he don't need to be there.
Okay.
And then after, the baby comes out, he's like forced to, not forced, but like all of this weight of pressure of showing up the right way, of you got to cut the umbilical cord here and you got to hold her like this, and there's all of these people looking at you to basically mess up or be the greatest. And my thing is like, where is there an in between for him to learn that? Because neither of my kids, I didn't go to no Lamaze class before I went through labor. I didn't go through no breathing class. It wasn't no, let's practice on this doll and changing the diapers so you know. It was more so like, I'm going to just take it in my head like I'm going to do it. And then eventually you'll catch on. Like, I have a 8-year-old daughter and I have a 5-year-old daughter. Until this day, my 5-year-old daughter, when she goes to her dad's house, his girlfriend bathes her. He don't bathe her. His girlfriend does her hair. He don't do her hair. And I'm just like, all right, your dad don't never do your hair? No. And my thing is like, if I was sick and he didn't have a girlfriend, her hair is just supposed to be jacked up.
I mean, you would hope that he would. You would hope that he would figure it out at that point.
Right.
You
But
know.
you know what? Sometimes it's your mom, sometimes it's your grandmother, sometimes it's your girlfriend or your wife that might enable you to be the best father you could be, because they feel like, oh, I'm gonna just take care of it. But how life be set up sometimes is, maybe that man that's a father and that took care of the household, maybe he got sick. And so now, being that woman probably wanted to be the mom that was taking care of home with the kids, now how money got coming in the household? Now you stuck. And my thing is like, no one should shut down your options, whether you're a man or a woman, on what you can do in a household for your family, because anything can happen. And so I remember being a little girl, and my mom had her, I want to say she had her like second stroke, and my mom was in the hospital, and we were home with my dad. My dad had my hair going in 2 different directions. He didn't know what to cook for like breakfast. Um, he was struggling on like how he gonna get us ready and drop us at school and then go to his shop. And it's kind of like, in order for you to be prepared for emergencies to come up, you got to drop those sexist labels of what a man or a woman is supposed to do in the household, because anything can happen. And when it comes to financially, you got to be prepared by putting money in certain accounts when you get money. And there ain't
Right.
nothing
That.
wrong with a Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with a woman earning income on top of a man earning income in a household, because anything can happen.
All right. But how long? So how long was your mom like sick and not able to like do things, and your dad had to do stuff? If you
I
don't
want
mind
to
me
say
asking.
like like 2 weeks,
So
but
do
you
you think that
talking
within the, do you think within the 2 weeks, did he get better by the end of the 2 weeks than he was in the beginning? Because sometimes you got to be put in a situation that's going to force you to do something different. Everybody isn't self-motivated on their own. You know, like if you
Right,
got a crutch, people might take a crutch. So like if it's easier to allow this person to do it, then you may allow a person to do it because that's easier for you to do. Now, if your back is to the wall and you don't have an option, that's when the true colors should kind of start to show, and depending, like what you gonna go ahead and do.
right. But my thing is like, because he was never in a position to have to do it, he just took it as, oh, that's not my thing. I don't do that. So when we were needed, when he had to show up in it, he did it for that time. And then when she was, out the hospital and back, it was back to him not doing it. Oh, I don't have to do that no more. You here? And that's the type of like pressure that be on a lot of women in the past. So now we got these new women who are just like, oh no, like I don't want to have kids, or I'm not having his kid unless we married, as if like that's like set in stone. It's not. You can still become a single parent whether you got married to that woman or you got married to that man.
That's true. I don't know.
And I
I
think,
think go ahead.
go ahead,
No, I was gonna say,
go
like, when you were talking about the situation with your dad having to do hair, like, that's why, like, I feel like one of the things I preach on the show is like being interchangeable with mom. Like, cause like to like now have all that pressure and tragedy, like, yo, she's sick, she had a stroke. Now I'm worried about wife, and I gotta like do these things. Like, I always talk about like guys just need to be more open to being interchangeable with mom. Like we had
yeah,
a guy on the show saying he never changed his daughter diapers because he didn't trust himself to like properly clean her and stuff like that. And it's like that's not really a good enough like you her parent 365.
right,
So imagine you was his girl, his wife. Every time she poop or she pee, it's your, it's your diaper. Like that's
right,
insanity. Like that's crazy. Like what's gonna happen if I went away for a weekend, or or she went away for a weekend? Like, who's gonna change the baby? Like, I don't want to be excessive, but like, it's just it's a mentality, man. Like we have all types of crutches and like stigmas and like all of it is fake. Like we gotta care for these little people, man. Like it's like I don't pack the kids lunches, but I could pack their lunch. That's like I don't dress
yeah,
my kids every day. Like all them pictures they get taken in the morning. Like my wife dress them, but I'm more than capable of dressing the kids. Like I've been learning to put her hair through barrettes lately. Like I'm more than capable to do it. Like like it's not like a mark on me. Like yo, I do her hair. I'm less of a man. Like no, I'm being her dad. Like she need me to do that right now.
right.
It's crazy, man.
So like for me, I just feel like when I feel like when you have a daughter and you're a man, you're like the first man she's equivalating like gonna think of like when she meets a man in her life. So like if she never seen her daddy do this, then you're not a man in her eyes because her daddy ain't do that. If if you're not doing the level of care that my father did, then no, you're not in my life the way that I need a man in my life. And so my thing is like, if I was a man and I had a daughter, oh, I'm doing above and beyond stuff. So by the time my daughter wants to date, she ain't settling for nothing less. She not about to be impressed by somebody taking her to Cheesecake Factory. You know what I'm saying? Because I take her on certain dates with me and her to Cheesecake Factory so she knows how to order for herself, how to sit, how to have a inside voice in a restaurant, how to carry herself. Like all of those things, I'm just like, why men be having daughters and not give them the game to make sure they don't pick shitty men?
They might
Man,
not know them. They might not know themselves. For when you also it also depends on the type of man. Like the man that you're speaking of is the man that's probably a shitty man himself, and that's not capable of giving her the game. It's not like all men come equipped, with the ability to be able to do that.
Right.
That would already have to be a certain type of man to give his daughter that certain type of game and that certain type of understanding. If you're not living your life like that, then you're not going to be able to provide her with that type of experience or that type of thing.
Right. So for me, like I love how transparent a lot and upfront a lot more fathers are coming about their role with their kids. And I just like same thing with moms. I'm just like, just because you're raising a son doesn't mean he doesn't need to know how to cook his own eggs. He doesn't need to know how to clean a bathroom. He doesn't need to know how to do this and do that. Because if you keep doing it for him, you're basically going to allow him to feel like he can be in a household with a woman and he ain't got to do that. Because a lot of men don't think like, okay, maybe I don't want to do these things with my girlfriend or my fiance because I went from living in my parents' house and my mom doing everything to going to college and I did basically wore t-shirts and jeans, and then I had a girlfriend and now we live together and I expect her to do the shit that my mom did.
No, that's true. I mean, but when you think about it, me and Dre talk about this in terms of like kids being in the streets. It's like you could give your kid the greatest life, live in the suburbs, and go to the best schools. And if they want to be something different, they're gonna be something different. Like who's to say, like, I worship the ground my wife walk on, so my daughter know what love look like. I take on all these dates, and I'm all over her life, but she like she like dudes in a dicky. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like I would hate it. I would hate it.
yeah,
But she like them dudes like daddy square. Like daddy worship the ground you work on, mom. Like I don't even like you know what I mean? Like it's I don't know, man. It's the same thing. Like it's like these kids in the street, like it's like, yo, you don't wanna play football? No, you rather sell drugs? Like, all right, like it's like it's crazy. Like they still their own people. They're gonna have their own mentality and like
true.
what T.I. son just got locked up. Like, come on, you gotta think the kid had like the greatest everything. Like, you know what I
But
mean?
that's the problem. I don't feel like as parents you're supposed to just give your child the greatest everything. You're gonna have to give with balance. There's like balance in everything. There's self discipline in everything. So I say this all the time. Like if I'm a billionaire and I can afford to get my child their first car and it be a Lamborghini, you're not getting a Lamborghini. You're getting a 2000 Honda. You know what I'm saying? You go earn and work and see what it takes to make a car payment and insurance on a Honda before I just throw you a Lamborghini just because I have it. And that's the thing. When you give a lot to kids, like even preachers' kids, we all know preachers' kids be the worst kids because they too sheltered. They have this added pressure of people are always looking for them to be this great thing, and they were never given the space to exercise the tools and the lessons that their parents gave them. It's like, no, you need to be here. You need to do this. You need to be at choir practice because you know that choir practice is gonna make me look bad. And it's like all this pressure, and then they go to college away from home, and they crazy.
That's a fact. I mean, like that's to me, that's the real learning curve of being a parent. It's like we have our own priorities. Hey, I'm gonna provide for you. I'm gonna make sure you eat and go to school. I'm gonna try to get you an opportunity to go to college. We all we keep hearing is what we gonna do. Like it's never.
So fall is here once again. Ready. Check out Cozy Woman Shop with Teespring for all of your hoodies, sweatshirts, long sleeves, and coffee mugs to get through this fall time and winter. Dads, I got you too. Moms, if you're looking for some more things for yourself while you're running errands, while you're dropping off, while you're picking up, check out Mama's Cozy Closet with Teespring. Now back to the show. Yeah.
Like the people they gonna be or like what they're gonna be interested in, and like it's like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, which indirectly probably put pressure on them, and it's like they still have a choice on the people they want to be. Like I used to work at a juvenile facility, man. I was so broken up. I used to think like these people came from like the most craziest environments. It'd be loving mom, loving dad, loving grandma. It's like yo, you just want to be something different. Like it has nothing to do with your household. Like you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's and to me that's the challenge of parenting. Like we haven't gotten there yet, but like when they start becoming their own people and like you can see them like blatantly going against what you say do and stuff like that. That's like the real challenge. Like all this other stuff is easy. 3, 4, 5 years old, like all that stuff is easy. Like you know what I mean? It's the like making them good people for society is a whole nother task. Like teaching them how to vet in dating is a whole nother task. Like
Man,
like
I'm gonna tell you right now. I know which daughter I have where I'm gonna have to hide my car keys. And
already.
they not even teenagers yet. I know. I know which daughter is gonna snitch. And I know which daughter is gonna be caught up in a lie because she sucks at lying and I tell her every time when I catch her in it. And I do that because I want to be able to tell you about yourself before you go outside and society penalize you about yourself. Right? I keep full transparency. They get in trouble for lying, and I said, you know why? Because you suck at lying. So don't lie because you suck at it. And I'm not gonna lock you up. But you go outside and you do that to the wrong person, they gonna lock you up. And I let them know that because that's the reality of the situation. And I tell my girls also, you cute, but you still gonna get in trouble, and you still could get these hands despite your cuteness. Because I don't want them walking out my house thinking because they look a certain way, they could get away with certain things. And
Right.
sometimes when I went to school, the classmates who couldn't read, the classmates who never came to class with a pencil or a backpack and always need to borrow something, and you know your English teacher go around the room in the book, and everybody got to read a paragraph, and they get to that person and they can't read, but they got the newest J's on, they got the newest jeans on, they fresh from head to toe. A lot of parents know that their child is academically struggling or need help behind, and instead of them focus on where their child need help, they dress them up so they can't be bothered. And my
No,
thing is like with parents, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like I tell my kids, like I really tell them like where I messed up. So for me, I tell them like I had textbooks for school and the answers was in the back. Y'all know the answers was in the back of those textbooks. So when I didn't want to
All right.
do certain math work, I'm gonna copy the answers from the back. But at the same time, despite me having a calculator and the answers in the back, when I had to do tests in the classroom, I can't tell you how I got the answer. I don't know how to think through the problem. And I purposely tell my 8-year-old that because she got a habit of rushing and being like one number off and is completely wrong because she not taking her time and she think, oh, I could just ask Google because she got the Google thing in the room and get the answer. No, show me your work because I know what a struggle it was to try to get the easy route and still end up struggling the next grade and the next grade and the next grade. So like my whole idea on like parenting, despite a dad doing it or a mom doing it, is just like brutal honesty.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got to be real. You definitely got to be real with yourself and real with your kids. Especially like if you see your kids struggling, like you can't dress your kids up and just think that they're not going to struggle because you dress them up and
Right.
they look nice. You want to, first and foremost, you want to get them the help, that they need because at the end of the day, none of the materialistic stuff is really going to help them. It's not really going to matter. It's just going to mask, whatever is going on. So you definitely got to be, accepting and willing to willing to do these things because a lot of people be in denial about things. They definitely be in denial about situations with their kids, and they don't want to hear certain things. They don't want certain labels to be put on their kids and stuff like that because they don't want to accept it. The best thing is to accept whatever the situation is whether your kid has a shortcoming, a learning disability, ADHD, something like that, and then find the best course of action to be able to handle those things so that way your kid can maximize their potential.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No, I like what you both said about being brutally honest and like, you know, keeping it real, like where your kid is, like we had an episode Dre where I was like, yo, what if like every kid ain't gonna be like a genius, bro. Like you still gotta be that kid parent. Like you know what I mean? Like you still gotta be that
Right,
kid
that's
parent. Like
true.
like I play sports. Like my son may be unathletic, but my daughter might be athletic. Like I still gotta be both their parents. You know what I mean? So like I don't know, man. It's about being versatile. I love the honesty. Like I need to probably practice that a little bit more, being more honest. I mean my kids aren't old enough to like be super transparent about how I got through school, because God
Yeah.
knows we cheated through a little bit of college, but you know
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But like I don't know. I just to me, like my take on it is, it's like you gotta see it. Like it can't go over your head too. Like you can't be ignoring it. Like
Right.
Dre was saying, like you can't ignore it. Like, but I also had daycare people try to insinuate different things about my kids and be wrong.
They
Like
will.
like
So
yes,
I dealt with kinder care trying to convince me that my oldest had a behavior issue, and they wanted to put her in like a special class from kinder care, which would be on her record going into regular school. So she'll be in like a special class. When it's really she don't need to be in a special class. My oldest, she wasn't around kids until she was 3 years old. So she was reading at 2. She was writing earlier. She was having like full sentence conversations early, right? And then you put her in a room of like 22 children, and she's used to only getting one-on-one attention. She was struggling with that. So a lot of times like they would complain to me like, "Oh, it's nap time." And Anya won't lay down and nap. She wants to read a book. Yeah, like she not used to taking naps. Like I never gave any of my kids a bedtime. That was my fault. But it came a time where she needed to go to school, and now she like struggling with having a time where she needed to chill out. Like even right now, she been on the iPad all morning learning stuff. But the reality is, I can't give her the iPad during the week, because if I give her the iPad during the week, she cuts off all her attention for that iPad. And it's really about knowing your kid. Like, I know that my kids need this certain need, and not allowing society to tell you, or your child has this issue, or your child has it. No, they just learn different. And so it's really important that when you take your kids to daycare or schools, you don't let them dictate how your child is going to learn. You gotta be able to peep that from home and be like, no, my child needs this, or my child probably needs to go to a magnet school, or my child probably needs
Yeah,
to
but
go to
that
this.
no, not to cut you off. I was about to say like that comes from being tapped in with your kid and understanding your
Yeah.
kid. Like you understand your kid and you tapped in with your kid. I just actually had a revelation the other day that like everybody isn't really that tapped in with their kids. So like my youngest son just started kindergarten. And he
Uh-huh.
does actually have like behavioral issues. So he has like an IEP. So him going into kindergarten, we was emailing way ahead of time, trying to get an IEP meeting just because we didn't want to throw him in the kindergarten and then they don't know how to
Yeah.
deal with him and they're unfamiliar. So we sit down, with the staff and have an IEP meeting, me and his mom and the principal, the assistant principal, the counselor, his teacher, just as members of the support staff, and we're talking and we're going through things, and it was just like a regular conversation. He's like, these are his triggers. Like when this happens, he usually does this. Just like giving them the whole rundown, the insight, and all of this. And it was a lady, like a counselor lady, that was there, and was just like, one of the counselors just was like, she's been doing this for 20 years, and this is like the most in-depth IEP meeting she's ever had with two parents that are so familiar with their kid and knows, you know, like his triggers, what this is and what that is. And I was just taken aback because to me that's normal. To me that's regular. Like you should be in
Right.
tune with your kid. But for somebody like a professional in this field to say, I've been doing this for 20 years and haven't encountered parents that are so familiar with their child, it paints a different picture. It's like people aren't really that tapped into their kid to understand it when somebody is coming to you and trying to present some information to you about your child because they're not that locked in. They're not paying
Right.
attention that much. They're not, you know, they're so focused on what they're doing. Maybe you focused on running around, making money, taking care of a household, or doing whatever you're doing that you just don't actually have the time to actually be locked in with your kid like that. So like you able to do that because you can decipher because you know you locked in with your kids. You pay attention to them every day. You know what type of things are going to set them off. You know how they handle certain situations. You just tapped in with them. A lot of people aren't. And like I said, like that hearing that was like a little bit of a surprise to me, but it kind of opened my eyes to something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's the type of
on
that.
no, I was saying
No, I
just
was
on the topic,
like,
on,
if
on
you
the
don't,
topic.
go ahead.
I was saying that's why we on this topic of school. Like that's like even down to like how we perceive school. Like whether we paying for private school or public school. Like if we think like that their only teachers are the teachers at the school. Like
Right.
I think education is so important. Like you would be a fool to think it's not your job to be some form of a teacher at home. But like you have people
Teaching,
who are like, I
teaching
paid
your kid is
500. They pay tuition and be like, I'm not teaching the kid. I'm paying somebody to teach them. It's like, no, that's your kid. It's your kid. You
right.
want your kid to be smart. You want your kid to like you can't think the school going to put in their mind like what careers they want to be in. That got to be introduced at home. Like it's just so
Yeah.
much stuff we think it's just we're so hands off on like real developmental stuff with our kids. And Dre, that's crazy to hear somebody say they've been doing it 20 years and nobody ever came in this detail with an IEP meeting from the parents' perspective. Like, this is nuts, man. Everybody just so hands off. Like teach the kids, be intact with your kids. Like,
Because you know what it is
Mm.
too. Some parents, again, like y'all said, didn't have an example of what correct parenting is, right? And the thing when you have kids, you don't know what type of child you're gonna have until that child come out. And then you're gonna have to spend your years learning this human being so you can send them out in the world to be the best human being they could be. At the same time, when you have a kid, you are constantly having to learn from them and teach them. So like for me, I'm always trying to teach them something, and I feel guilty when I just tell them like one definition of a word. So you know how some words have two meanings if they're used differently? If they ask me what does such and such mean, I'll tell them, and I'll be like, and if it's used in this way, it means this. Because I don't want them to be in a position to not know what they need to know in my absence. I do that a lot. Same thing where my 8-year old this week, she was like, Mom, what do you think my talent is? And I was like, I don't know yet, but I think you're really good at drawing. You're really good at catching on to technology really fast. But I don't know what your talent is at. A talent is something you work at over a period of time. So the more consistent you are with something, then I'll be able to see that what that is. A lot of kids ain't asking that. And then you have a lot of parents that work in a job where the job gets 12 hours of that parent and that child only gets 4 hours with their parents. So when you only get 4 hours of your kid and it's close to the end of the day, you're not catching on to what Dre said about what is a trigger or what may help or not help a child that is having a certain problem or needs to be taught a certain way because you feel like you doing your best because you're providing. But sometimes, especially with brown children, they're labeled the most. They're put in a group because nobody wants to deal with them. And you have to allow them to go to school and then you have to let them come home and unlearn some lies that they were told at school because of curriculum. And the reality is, having a child in America is hard, but having a brown skinned child in America is hard because they go to school, they tell you what they learn, and then you got to realistically, as a brown skinned parent, say, that's not real. This is the truth. But because your teacher is paid and under this board of education, they have to teach you this. And that's the reality. Like, you have to unlearn with them. And it doesn't matter if you send them to a private school. It doesn't matter if you send them to a magnet school. It doesn't matter if you send them to a public school. You're going to have to help them unlearn some of the lies that they were told in their school. A lot of parents don't want to do that. They want to send their kids to school, not warn their teachers about the fact that they throw tantrums when they don't want to share. They have an issue because one parent treats them like a whole princess queen, and they come to your house and they get the same rules as the other kids. I had to do that with my 5 year old. Her dad treats her like the sun shines out of her butt at all times, regardless of what she does. I don't treat her like that here. I treat her just like her sister. You do something you're not supposed to do, you're going to get dealt with. You need to do your homework. Not later. You need to do your homework now. And so she primarily goes to school in my county. So before she went to school, just like Dre did, I had a whole conversation and I took time out of work to go meet her teacher and talk to her face to face and say, this is her personality. She's going to try you like this. She's going to try this to see if it works. You have any issue? This is her dad's number. This is my number. Call me. I work from home. A lot of parents don't do that. And then when their kids act a fool in the school, they want to yell at the teachers or yell at the principal. And you can't do that because it's unfair. They got 18 kids in their classroom.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so,
It's crazy.
yeah,
People
so,
not really people not really doing that though. A lot of people just some parents, to be honest, some parents look at it as like that's free time to them. Like
yeah,
that's my free time. Like that's my time away from that's my time away from the kids. Like that's my peace. Like I'm sending them to school. Like when it was like virtual school and the kids was home and they was virtual, like people was burnt out that I had to be with their kids all day. They were so used to
yeah,
and accustomed to just dropping their kids off at school and leaving them there. Some parents, that's really just how they are. Like that's school to them is like that's the getaway from my kids, or they in school, that's my free time. So they're not really looking like the school is like it is an extension of you. Like everybody got to be on the same page, and it's like when you dealing with schools and administration and teachers and stuff like that, like you gotta be familiar with yourself. Like I could speak honestly from myself. Any school that my kids went to, I was familiar with the principal, the teacher, and that's just how it was. Even my oldest son, the multiple schools he went to, I knew the principal, I knew the teachers, the staff. Like you're gonna introduce yourself and just be available and be present in that way. Everybody's not looking at it like that.
yeah. And it sucks that a lot of parents don't look at it like that because a lot of these schools are funded by private prisons. And private prisons are funding a lot of things in these schools so they can have more prisoners to make them money by a certain age. Like, a lot of these schools, what your child does in elementary school, middle school, and high school goes towards their adult record when they're 18. So by the time they're 18, depending on their behavior in school or how many times they got detention or uh, suspended, by 18 they do something petty. They already got three strikes against them, and they like automatically a number for a prison system. But a lot of parents don't know that. A lot of parents don't pay attention to how many minority children get suspended versus get a warning because they look like this versus looking like this. And so that's why I say being a parent is not, this is a mom's job and this is a dad's job. Like, y'all both got to be in the same way. It has to be balanced. If one of y'all say no, you got to let the other parent know you said no. It can't be, oh, that's the fun parent or that's the mean parent. I'm gonna ask him or I'm gonna ask her because it's like you got to look at the public like y'all not here to protect my child. I am. We are. And so if I let my child be in the house and be in this bubble of the world is so great and send them outside, I didn't do my job as a parent.
No,
That's a fact.
I agree with that. One thing we do in our house is like we make it our job to expose the kids to things. Like the
Yeah.
kids already been to the zoos and all that. They've been to all the museums. They're not waiting for field trips. Like my kids are not even in grade school, and we're exposing them to that. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like we just take so much of a hands-on approach. Like none of their parts of their life is for somebody else to really do. It's extra to what
Right.
we're already doing. Like that's kind of like how we look at it. Like like exposure. Like Manny tried a lot of different sports. Like he only really likes soccer. He knows what football is. He knows what basketball is, and we did tennis at the courts and bought rackets. And even if it's a waste a couple of dollars, it's like the investment is on them in that type of way. Like a lot of people, like the minute your kid's successful, you want to take pride, take credit for all their success. It's like you
Hmm.
ain't even really putting the work in. Like it's
Right.
different than taking your kid to practice every day, or you pay for him to do this activity versus like one thing right now, like for example, like a kid play basketball, he play AAU, he play at the high school, but like back in the day, like like a kid might play lacrosse, basketball, and football. He got three sports around the school year, and all the different level of competitions and different learning different rules and playing on different fields made him better at his main sport. Now you get kids that just specialize in one thing, like. I only play basketball. Like, so what if basketball don't work? You can't throw a baseball. You don't know
Right.
science. You don't know like you making these specialized kids. Like they not like everybody not LeBron James. Like it's just like and you cheating them out of like what if they other friends do baseball, but you want him to be a baseball player so bad, like he can't play baseball with his friends. Like even if he ain't
Yeah.
the best one on the team. Like it's just the mindset around it. Like but the minute he go pro, it's like, oh my God, I was doing everything and it's all off my it's like you want to take the credit. It's like, no, you wasn't like you wasn't really that as a parent. Like that's kind of like really off a young ball back.
Yeah. And I commend any parent that has their child in extracurricular activities because it costs you time, it costs you money. A lot of parents wake up super early to drive to certain games that's not where they at. And I'm just like, yo, commendable because I cannot. Like if I was like married and I didn't have to worry about so much on my plate, maybe I would, but I just know like right now, like, yeah, I wish you could, do gymnastics. But I don't have time to take off to take you to gymnastics. And so like one of the girls' dads was like, I'll pay for it and I'll take them. Just find the place. So I found the place, and when I showed them that it's like $200 per class per child, and that's not even like all of the stuff that they need. It been quiet ever since. I'm just like it costs for your child to be in these things and have all these options and stuff, and so that's why like all this pressure for young people to have kids, hurry up and have kids. You should need have kids when you're young. No, do it while you're financially comfortable.
Yes. No, it's we blessed. Like Manny's in math. He has like a math class that he goes to at 4 years
Yeah.
old. He does swimming. He's in soccer through his daycare. So he does three things. My daughter's one. She doesn't do any, but I think the first thing we're gonna do is like a mommy and me swimming class or a daddy and me swimming class. So like that'll be her first extra activity. But I don't know, man. I guess it helps having, like you said, two parents in the household. It helps to divide the drop off and the pickup and who's paying for what. But like
Right.
that's to me like swimming is a life skill. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing more important in this world than STEM classes. Like when you're talking academics, like if it ain't STEM, then it ain't really going to lead to the careers we really want our kids to be doing. Like like
Yeah.
that math and that science and all that stuff is serious. Like I always talk. I tell men almost every night, man, you cool because you. Like you're not cool because somebody else validate that you're cool or that you're smart or that you're
Man,
beautiful.
I just had a conversation with the girls about that on Wednesday, but I had it separately because I didn't want nobody feeling like I need to give the answer she gave. So I was like, I said, Ari, she was a 5 year old. I said, if you go to class and you wear something and everybody in the class say they don't like what you wear and they don't like your hair, what do you say? And she was like, I'm gonna tell them you can't tell me that. And I was like, no. I said they can tell you whatever they want to tell you, but you can tell them that's fine. I like it. And if you like your hair. And if you like your clothes. Don't let other people tell you what you should like because they don't like it. And it's all about having a conversation of being confident in your individuality because there's so many kids out here trying to get some type of okay based upon what other people like. And I gotta get this because the kids like it, and I have to have this shoe because they like it. Listen, if you go in the store and you see kids' shoes, they cost the same amount of money our shoes cost. I do not want to deal with my child being like everybody at school got Giuseppe's on. I need Giuseppe's. No, you don't. You know.
Nah,
So
that's
like,
true.
if you don't teach your child to be an individual now, when they get to like 10 or 15 and they think they need things that they don't need, they're not going to know how to stand up for themselves in those discussions. And so I be point blank range with what I'm asking and teaching them consent because a lot of these laws are basically trying to go behind parents' back and be able to offer kids from 5 to 11 years old without a parent signing on it if they want to get a COVID vaccine at school, which is
Like,
ridiculous.
how do they even approve stuff like that? Like, that is
Exactly.
crazy.
So, like, Canada this week just got the rollout between 5 year olds to 11 year olds should be able to have booster COVID shots in Canada. And they trying to roll it out to where it can be like something you go to the nurse's office for X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, that's not nothing that a parent shouldn't be able to sign off for. But there's lawmakers that's trying to push stuff like that. So I try to stay in the know as a parent. Everything y'all said, like, has to do with parenting, has to do with fatherhood, or just being an overall aware parent. So your child doesn't grow up feeling lopsided or feeling like, oh, I don't have to do that because my dad never told me I had to do it or my mom never told me I had to do it. But yeah, fatherhood is equal to motherhood. It's just like a different perspective. I feel like fathers have to do a bit more because y'all start is a little bit later than women. Not because y'all chose y'all start to be later, just society and y'all not women. So your bonding has to be a bit more intentional. So from what I heard, I feel like both of y'all doing a pretty good job with that. So I created a little segment before we get out of here for y'all, for dads. And
Okay.
I call it how would dad handle it, right? So
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is
Hmm.
I'm gonna give you a scenario and I want you to tell me um, which option would you choose to handle the scenario from a father's aspect. So the first scenario is your child just got dropped off by the mom at daycare or school, and then the school calls saying your kid is sick. Do you one call the mom and tell her the kid go get them, or do you two tell your boss that your kid is sick, leave work, go pick up the kid, grab meds, or make an appointment at the pediatrician?
Mm, They called you. They called me first. They called me first.
They call you first.
Mm, see, I don't know. It's a little complicated with me. But I mean, like if I'm at work, I'm not at work. I mean, I'm definitely at work.
You at work.
Um, I don't know. I might, cause like I
What about
work.
Lou?
Huh? What'd you say, Mo?
No,
Oh,
I'm
like
a,
what about Lou?
yeah. I'm going to get the kids. You know, if my
Okay.
kid is sick, I'm going to get it. But then again, like Dre drives a bus, so like Dre
Right. So
availability
that's what
that's
I was
different.
about to explain. It right. It's different, and that's what
Okay.
I was about to explain. Like I might have to. It might take me a longer time because I'm on the bus. So like I'm gonna have to get the bus back to the depot, get to my car. Whereas though like maybe I get in contact with the mom fast, depending on how sick, how dire. Um, it makes it a little bit different. But
Okay.
if the kid is sick, like like I could call and leave. It's just for logistics regions, it depends.
Okay. The reason I brought that up is because most most dads today still feel like if a child is sick, the mom need to do it, or the mom knows the doctor and she need to take them. And it's rare that you can go into a doctor's office and see just a dad with their child if the child is like under 6 years old. I think when the child is like 7 or older, you'll see more dads in there for like a physical for them to do sports or like just a regular um yearly visit or whatever. But it's rare that dads be like, okay, let me take off and go do X, Y, and Z. So that's why I asked that question. Second
I mean,
scenario I have um is your child has homework to do for the weekend, but you have a kid's birthday party and barbecue to go to with them. And it's at a certain time Saturday and Sunday. Do you make the child do the homework on Friday instead of chill? Or do you try to squeeze it in Sunday night? Be honest.
We honestly speaking, we probably I'm me. But honestly, I'm probably gonna squeeze it in Sunday night. I'm a little. I'm a procrastinator as an adult, like as myself. Like
Yeah,
I kind of like, um, to me, like I kind of push the limits of time. Like I feel like like I got more time than I really have.
yeah.
So like that transit, like I can be last minute in things. It always get done. It'll get done on time.
Uh,
It just might get done in the final hour. So honestly speaking, yeah, I'm probably gonna squeeze it in Sunday night.
what about you, Lou?
yeah, I think unfortunately I fall in that category as well. Um, but I'm not like my procrastination isn't awful, but like in terms of like having fun and stuff like that, like I think you gotta have fun, right? So like,
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna like probably be prepared to do it Friday. Like I'm ready to cut loose Friday, so it's not gonna happen
yeah.
Friday. So Sunday it is.
That's funny. And I brought up, this segment because I think the way that a lot of moms think when it comes to kids versus how dads think is usually different in certain scenarios. And I think that's where like the bulk of some frustration is because mom, when they're upset that something wasn't done how they wanted it to be done, it's a bigger issue than what it is, and they don't never think, well, maybe from a dad's perspective, it's different. Maybe he's looking at it different. Maybe it's less of a big deal because in his mind it's going to get done by a certain time, or in his mind it would be better if you did it because you know more or you're aware of more. And so I just brought up that scenario because the more that I think from a man's perspective before I get really upset with a man for not doing what I would have done, the calmer I'll be in a discussion with that man, that father, right? And the more men think about what a woman would have done or that mother would have done, you're not going to be so angry having a discussion about why something was done a certain way. And that's the type of stuff that makes us better parents, is just giving the space to have a discussion before it's like straight anger all the time. And at the end of any issue, the whole goal should be, I want good result, or I want this for our kid. And if the ending result is I want a good result, why go in it with bad vibes?
That's true. That's true. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to do that though. Like sometimes, sometimes it's hard to like put yourself in somebody else's shoes and actually like, think that maybe another like maybe a person just was thinking differently. Like sometimes when you feel how you feel about something, like you can
Yeah,
automatically have just because you have a difference of opinion, it can automatically become like a negative thing. Like it'll be like that's crazy that you even thought like that. Like how could you think
yeah,
like that? Versus like actually putting yourself in the shoes of the other person.
yeah. It definitely takes time and patience, because I had my moments, when the kids was little, where I'm just like, why would you do X, Y, and Z? Da, 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 da. And long text messages. Now it's like, I'm not saying nothing. Like, I'm not. That's not where I want to put my energy. I want to put my energy on, like, okay, how can I solve it? Where I need to meet you at? What they need? What you didn't pick up? Okay, because wasted energy for me now that I'm in my 30s, I'm just like, I ain't got it. I don't have the energy. I don't want to have to go through like days of you having an attitude. I just want to fix it now. But fatherhood, motherhood, I just want it to be seen as a team effort, and not like, this is what fathers do and this is what moms do, and just deal with it. But I feel like good things were shared today. I hope anybody that didn't know about More Than a Dad um, tuned in or will tune in and check out the podcast. I think what y'all doing is pretty good, because the city that y'all in, I don't feel like everything about the city is bad, even though I don't live there anymore. I don't live in Philly anymore. But at the same time, there are people there that have families that want their families to grow up and try different things and do different things and live better. It's not just looked at one way. Not every father is the same. Not every mother is the same. Not every situation is the same. And I think with the guests that you have on, is evident. Like, I've never listened to a podcast like, oh, they just like this other guest, or they just like this, or they do the same thing. It's all different, and it's a wide range of a different perspective of what the situation is, how you handling it, and how does it relate to people out here actually trying to do fatherhood, trying to be a better parent, trying to show up different. And I appreciate it. I know a lot of people that listen appreciate it, and I just hope y'all keep going and y'all don't stop the podcast, or y'all don't feel discouraged from podcasting. I know it's not easy, especially when you got kids involved, work involved, other places you have to be. But I just feel like more fathers need like that space to be like, finally somebody said it. You know what I'm saying? So, before we get out of here, if y'all want to drop y'all Twitter, y'all IG, or y'all email, or how you could be reached, you could drop it.
At More Than a Dad podcast on Instagram is probably the best way to get us.
Okay.
Yeah. My personal page is at the kid manifest, DAKID manifest. You could spell that. Yeah, Lou.
Yeah, Lumob, LOU dot MOB.
Dot Mo.
Yeah. Just check us out. I appreciate you having us. This was so fun.
Of course.
Yeah, we
And if
definitely
y'all like,
appreciate it.
you welcome. If you on Spotify, listen to an episode, leave a review for them. If you on Good Pods, leave a review. Like the show, share the show. They are on Twitter. They don't use the Twitter as much, but um, I try to share the show and the link every time I'm on Twitter. I listen because there's it's still a lot of spaces that y'all could come up in that people don't know about, and I think a lot of people don't know about a lot of father podcasts, and so yeah, that's that.
It's been real.
Y'all enjoy y'all, and y'all holiday on Monday, and we out of here. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening, Lenny.
All right. Bye bye.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Mommy. I love you. Hi, Mommy. I love you. Da, da, more than a da.